You are listening to the continuation of the story. You can listen to the previous part via the link in the description below this video. Happy listening. The next morning, I woke up in some kind of prostration. My mouth was dry, and for some reason, I couldn't swallow. I tried to sit up, and a sharp pain hit behind my eyes. A flash of light blinded me for a moment. "Damn," I groaned, my voice sounding like gravel on a tin roof. When I was able to reduce the throbbing in my head to a more tolerable level, I tried to sit up again, although my stomach did somersaults and the room began to spin before my eyes. I lost my balance and slid off the edge of the bed, falling to the floor. From the sharp blow, I clenched my teeth, and saliva sprayed from my mouth and dripped onto my chest. Nausea rose in my throat like a salmon swimming upstream, but it lodged itself somewhere between my neck and my wildly beating heart. I breathed shakily, hoping I wouldn't throw up, rolled onto my stomach, and tried to get up on all fours. "Myra?" I moaned questioningly. There was dead silence in the house. Nobody answered. "Ugh," I groaned again, jerking my knee forward, and then my arm, crawling along the floor in small steps, trying to get to the corridor, and finally to the bathroom. "Myra," I called again. There was no answer. Finally, I crawled to the threshold of the bathroom, and the cool tiles under my arms and knees seemed like a real salvation for my burning body. And there, right in front of me on the floor, was shining white porcelain. It was as if he was calling me, promising support. "Come on, Jimmy, buddy," the toilet said. "Let me help you." The toilet is fucking talking to me. What the hell? "Myra," I tried to shout again, a little louder. There was no answer, except the toilet. She left, with the boys, to my mother. I stopped crawling and stared at the toilet lid. Are you talking to me?" "Nothing." I waited, pretending to play dead. Nothing again. Carefully continuing my path, I finally reached the toilet. I lifted the lid, expecting him to say, "Ah." Nothing. I hovered over the rim, staring into the clear water and seeing my shadowy face reflected on the surface. And then I finally allowed my stomach to freely throw out everything that had accumulated, and I vomited. Let's just say I couldn't see my face anymore. When I felt a little better and the fire in my lungs had subsided, I rose to my feet and rinsed my face in the sink. Time after time, I took water into my palms and ran it over my face. After taking a few sips, I rinsed my mouth and spat. Face, neck, mouth, face, neck, mouth, head, face, neck, mouth. When I finished, I straightened up and glanced at my reflection in the mirror. "Damn it, Jimmy. You look like a fucking wreck." He ran his fingers through his hair, pushing it away from his face. Even the hair follicles hurt. "Aspirin," I said to the guy who was looking at me from the mirror, opened the cabinet and took 2 pills, and then 2 more. He looked at the toilet with disgust and flushed everything that was there. Feeling fairly alert, I got out of the bathroom and wandered into the kitchen to grab something to eat. Damn it. I stood frozen, staring in shock at the chaos that had once been our cozy kitchen. The cabinets, as if under the influence of a hurricane, were barbarically torn apart, their doors hung on broken hinges, and 4 of them had through holes, as if something heavy and merciless had gone through them. One cabinet, barely hanging on its twisted hinges, tilted dangerously, ready to collapse at the slightest touch. A pile of broken dishes lay on the floor, forming sloppy, sharp mountains. Fragments of plates, glasses, mugs, scattered cans and bottles, everything was mixed in a disorderly pile. Each fragment shone under the weak light of the kitchen, like fragments of glass stalactites. The coffee maker, as I understand it, suffered a particularly cruel fate. Apparently, it was thrown into the sink with such force that the black plastic case shattered into small pieces, scattered across the countertop and floor, like small, dim stars after the explosion of a black meteorite. Even the kitchen chair seemed to have been destroyed. Its 2 legs had been driven into the wall so that they had penetrated the drywall, and now the chair hung 3 feet in the air, like an ominous trophy frozen in silent, incongruous flight. "Damn it, Jimmy," I gasped, feeling the icy horror slowly give way to irritation. I took a step towards the kitchen, careful not to step on the glass and plastic that covered every inch of the floor. "What the hell have you done, dude?" What made me feel worse was seeing John's plastic yellow and red Elmo bowl smashed to pieces under the pile of rubble that had once been our cutlery. "Damn," I muttered to myself. "You're just an idiot." I returned to the bedroom, slumping exhaustively on the edge of the bed before slowly starting to pull on my clothes. The first thing I did was put on thick work pants and a sweatshirt. Then I got heavy, massive boots, reliable and strong, with metal toes ideal for the work that lay ahead of me. After tightening the laces and checking their strength, I took a deep breath, as if gathering strength. Walking through the corridor, I went down to the garage, where I immediately grabbed an industrial vacuum cleaner, massive and powerful, designed for the heaviest garbage. Then he grabbed a pair of thick rubber gloves to protect his hands from sharp shards, and finally pulled a snow shovel from the shelf. Its wide blade could help collect scattered trash faster than anything else. With these simple tools, I returned to the kitchen. Every step seemed to emphasize the discontent that was bubbling inside. Shaking my head, I grumbled under my breath in frustration, cursing my naivety and stupidity for allowing all this to happen. I walked over to the phone on the wall, picked it up, and dialed Tim's number. The beeps continued with agonizing slowness: 1, 2, 3, and finally I heard him sleepily and lazily answer. "Hello? Tim? Jim Scully. Do you have a car? Jimmy? Yes, I have. For what? Shall we go hang out? No, buddy. I need your help. Come to my house, bring work gloves." "Of course, dude. I'll be there in an hour or less." He sounded more cheerful. "Are you okay?" "No, Tim. Not really." I pulled myself together and took a deep breath. "Just come and see everything for yourself." I hung up and then called Jerry on the way, asked him to leave Grace at home. "Brian, I'll be there by 11. Don't worry, man. My dad, damn. What have you done, Jimmy? I'll come and bring your mother and even Scott, dude. Even though I'm in Patchogue, I'm already on my way." After all the calls were made, I opened the front door and began cleaning the kitchen, one scoop at a time. Over the next hour, the house began to fill with loved ones as friends and family arrived at the house one by one to help. No one paid attention to my haggard appearance, my clouded eyes, and my silence. Everyone who entered seemed to instinctively understand that there was no point in talking now. Instead, we got down to business together. There was no longer a trace of broken glass and broken dishes on the floor. The countertops became smooth and clean again, as if chaos had never happened at all. Tim and Brian struggled to hold the lockers up when it came time to move them back into place. Jerry and I rolled up our sleeves and grabbed the screws, screwing the broken hinges back so that they could at least temporarily support the load. On the other side of the kitchen, Scott deftly handled the drawers, expertly securing their fronts like a true craftsman. Mom and Dad rushed between us and the nearest Home Depot, bringing tools and everything necessary that could be useful in this difficult job. From time to time, someone tried to start a conversation, to exchange at least a few words. But every time I raised my hand or simply shook my head, drowning out any attempts. I was silent, and then dryly and monotonously repeated, "It's my fault. Let's just fix it, please." Finally, everything possible was done, and the kitchen acquired a more or less acceptable appearance. The mess was cleared up, the floor was safe for bare feet again, and the cabinets were holding in place, although they seemed tired from the renovations they had endured. After looking at the results of our work, I took out my phone and called Luigi's, asking for 3 large pizzas with different toppings. I also asked for a dozen disposable plates and glasses after everything that had happened. No one had the energy for additional chores like washing dishes. When the food finally arrived, we all sat wearily in the living room, each sitting in our own way with a plate in our hands, avoiding eye contact and finding a topic of conversation just to fill the awkward silence. Conversations did not go well. Each of us felt a strange tension, as if something unspoken hung in the air, burning from the inside, but no one dared to talk about it first. My father finally broke the ice. Placing a slice of pizza on his lap and knitting his eyebrows, he looked at me with all the sternness he could muster. "Okay, Jimmy, Time's up. What the hell happened here? The place looked like it had been hit by a bomb. And where is Myra and my grandchildren? He asked. His voice was calm, but clearly demanding an answer. I looked away and sighed, feeling the weight of expectations and all the accumulated emotions weighing heavily on my shoulders. Myra took the boys to Stephanie for the weekend, Dad, I answered, trying to speak evenly, although my voice still wavered. Why, did you do all this while she was home? His face began to turn red at the mere thought that I could destroy the house in front of my wife and children. I raised my hands and grinned. No way in the world, Dad. Myra ran away because she said I drank too much. Tim laughed. Does this even happen? Jerry looked at me reservedly. Listen, Jimmy, I don't see you very often, but I have to admit, this is somehow not like you. Of course, you might miss a couple of bottles, Brian added, but you've always been like this. What do you guys know anyway? My mother said, putting her hands on her hips. Are you sitting in Myra's head? They just said that you don't see him very often, so how do you know? She looked at me, her green eyes burning right through me. Well, Jimmy, do you really drink that much? No, Mom, no more than usual. I can vouch for him, Mrs. Scully, Tim put in, placing his hand over his heart. Honestly, he doesn't drink more than usual, and he's often the most sober among us. Tim, you were never any kind of scout, my father said, frowning and folding his hands over his impressive belly. Don't be afraid, Jimmy. Are you drinking more than usual? I don't think so, Dad. I swear. Well, apparently Myra doesn't think so. Jimmy, my mother began, do you drink in the morning before work? Sometimes. Not always, maybe. If the night was especially bad, then yes. It's clear. When do you come home? Well, of course, the best reward for a hard day is a couple of bottles of beer. What, now you can't have a drink after work? Where is this written? In Iran? Don't be insolent to your mother, my father growled. So you drink a bottle in the morning and evening. Great, he frowned, just like my brother Patrick. This one is lost. Hey, Dad, this is completely different. Patrick is terrible. He has an addiction. Why, Tim interjected, does he go to meetings? Scott slapped Tim on the back of the head. Hey, pretend you have a brain and finally shut your mouth, okay? Mom gave everyone a devastating look. Listen here. Jimmy lives with Myra, and if she thinks there's a problem, then Jimmy needs to work it out with her. If she thinks that he drinks too much, then it's up to Jimmy to decide whether he wants to improve his relationship with his wife or continue as he is and upset her, and at the same time also me, my own mother. Jimmy, said the father, pointing his thumb at the kitchen walls, how do you think it all ended up in this state? I frowned, trying to think of an appropriate response. When she said she was leaving, I was just furious. I didn't know what to answer how come she's leaving because of just a couple of bottles. But I couldn't say anything because I was dumbfounded that she was leaving. And when she left, the roof just blew off me and I destroyed the kitchen. It's just strange that I don't remember exactly how I did it. Lord, son. I nodded. I know, you can imagine. So, in a rage, I break all these damn dishes, everything that we had, and then I lie down drunk and sleep until almost 10 in the morning. The anger takes my breath away, and Myra will be back on Sunday, I hope she will be, and I can't let her see what an idiot I've been and how I've ruined everything. She asked me to stop drinking and at least cut back a little, but one day I managed to screw it all up, destroyed the kitchen, and got so drunk afterwards that I don't even remember how I did it. Jimmy, we're your friends, Jerry patted me on the shoulder. We will help you figure it out and cope with this, friend. But you have to want it yourself. Our help is meaningless if you don't want it yourself. I can't even tell you how much I need this, Jerry. Brian stood up. Listen, I'm running home now. We probably still have spare glasses and other dishes that we haven't even unpacked. They're yours if you want them. Dude, Tim said, putting his hands in his pockets. I understand that I have nothing to give you, but I can take the beer from your garage. There's definitely no place for him there. Each of my friends and relatives offered me what they could. new plates, glasses, a trip to the Pathmark supermarket. I didn't want anyone from Myra's Stop and Shop to see my parents buying so much dishes for us and brought it to her. A couple of simple plywood cabinet doors and a can of stain soon turned out two at hand. By 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we were already finished. The kitchen didn't look quite the same as it used to shore, and some dishes and bowls were clearly missing. But it was enough for my family to live normally and not eat off paper plates and pizza boxes. After my friends had gone home, after I had showered them with gratitude, my mom and dad sat me down at the kitchen table and started talking. Jimmy, everyone gets one chance. This one was yours. I looked at my father with disgust. Do you think I planned this? Do you think it was nice for me to ask for help? Do you think I want to ever be in that situation again? He shook his head. I know this wasn't part of your plans, stubborn guy. Nobody plans this. But remember what you went through, remember how you felt this morning, and maybe next time you'll realize what you have to lose and won't blow everything and drink yourself into oblivion. Jimmy, we love you. Mom put her hand on my forearm and squeezed it. That's all we want to say. We love you and want to help. We love Myra and the boys and want you to have a happy life. But we can't always be there. You are on your own, and only you can make decisions that will affect everyone around you. What if I need you? What if I need your help again? The father frowned. If you need help like the one we gave you today, you can be sure that it won't be there. That's the point. Son, look inside yourself. Is there any truth to Myra's concerns about your use? I thought about hidden empty bottles, lies, strange memory lapses, and how difficult it had become to remember anything. About the boss, about drinking outside the 7-Eleven, about how the toilet started talking to me this morning. I didn't consider myself an addict, at least not like real people with addictions. But something was definitely going on, and I had to be honest with myself. I don't know, Mom. Maybe. I haven't lost control or anything yet, and I'm sure it's not that serious, but I have to admit, Myra may have cause for concern. Jesus, Jimmy. My brother is an addict. He's one glass of whiskey away from his liver, giving him the middle finger and giving up. When he was younger, he was just like you, cocky and full of stupidity, thinking he was all-powerful. This red-haired idiot simply drank away his life, until one day he realized that he no longer had any life. Do you want to be like Patrick? He's my brother, and I love him to death. But I can tell when things have gone too far. But for Patrick, things went too far many years ago. My father leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms over his protruding belly, and looked at me carefully. So, we have my brother, who has no wife, no children. Thank God for this little, no normal job. He lives at the expense of the state. 5 days out of 9, he walks around with yellowness on his face, and is so desperate that sometimes he comes in going to cheap bars to beg for drinks and cigarettes, or picking up half-empty glasses when no one is looking. Dear God, they called me 2 months ago to pick him up from Yifeng because he was arrested because of his own problem. This is not about me, Dad. No, not about you yet. But if you don't learn anything from this experience, then it will become about you. My brother may be a complete addict, but I'll be damned if my son is the same. Shane, that's enough. My mother gave my father a hard look, which since childhood I knew as a warning that the next word from my side would result in a slap in the face. The father seemed to remember this too, because he shrugged his shoulders and crossed his legs, as if to indicate that he had finished speaking. After making sure he was listening, Mom turned to me again. Jimmy, if you think you might have a problem, you can talk to someone about it. With whom, Mom? Go to meetings at the library. Will this help me? I don't know enough about it to judge, but I was thinking more of something like therapy. Your Aunt Sharon did a good course at a clinic in Suffolk. She attended the classes every day for several hours, and they really helped her, even though it took time. Father grinned. Yes, for a whole 6 months, until she crashed at Penny's wedding. Shane, at least she tried. What did Patrick do other than steal $50 from you when he came over for St. Patrick's Day? And you know, I never got them back. Mom, I can't go to Suffolk for 3 or 4 hours every evening. Then I won't see my wife and children at all. But Myra works, so it wouldn't be fair to her. We need every penny to stay afloat. You should have enrolled in a car mechanics course, like I told you. Dad, I like cars, I like driving them. But fixing them is not my thing. So, carrying boards on a forklift is your dream job? My patience always turned into a damn yo-yo when it came to my dad. This is a good job at the moment. I have plans. Well, yeah, your plans are working great lately, Jimmy. Jimmy, Mom interrupted again, it's never too late to change something. And if you need to take a little time off from work to get help, it's worth it. Don't you and Myra have any money left from Grandpa? I shook my head, remembering. My mother's father, Grandpa Connell, lived a pretty hard life. He came here when he was 8 in the 1950s. At that time, Ireland was severely devastated. The economy was collapsing, and everyone who could afford it was leaving the country. Many moved to Hampstead along with all the other Irish who emigrated at that time. By the late 50s, about 40% of the city was Irish. However, one of my grandfather's virtues was the ability to save every penny he earned. He was terribly tight-fisted, constantly grumbling that everyone was wasting money. His house was always cold in winter and hot in summer, and he was proud of his garden, especially his tomatoes. He was a master of the trade and could out-argue any fish seller in the market. He had an innate talent for understanding people, and he managed to be a mediator for so many people who might never have met. He was even jokingly called the Irish Godfather. He died 4 years ago, aged 68, after a long battle with cancer, refused to quit smoking, and endured the pain until I could no longer walk or move. He probably weighed no more than 60 kilograms when he finally died. But Grandpa Connell surprised everyone by leaving behind a fortune in real estate and strange investments. When everything was settled and the lawyers took their share, Grandma Rose distributed a decent amount among her children and grandchildren. There were 8 of us in total, and each got a little more than $50,000. At that time, John had just been born, and Myra was about to give birth to Joel, and we knew that we didn't want to live in the rented apartment where we were barely subsisting. We started looking for houses near our parents and found this one in a not-so-great area of Wantagh. We took it from the bank through a foreclosure program, and it was real junk. We had to pay about $20,000 right away, but then the housing market was in crisis, and the bank desperately wanted to close the deal. Our mortgage and taxes were only about $1,300 a month, and we had a house. As for the rest, I looked out the window at my Charger sitting in the driveway. It shone and sparkled in a bright red color, every detail I washed and polished with my own hands. I've always wanted a car like this, ever since I saw them speeding down Meadowbrook Highway like they were eating the road. So I took the remaining money and paid most of it for a then new 2010 Dodge Charger, taking it off the showroom floor. I know that Grandpa Connell would not have approved of my decision, and Myra was not delighted when I first drove her into our yard. She and I had been fighting over that damn car for over a month, but I was able to convince her that it was a good choice, because the Honda Civic we had no longer required repair costs, and we didn't have a car loan because we paid for the Charger in full. The remainder $3,000 or so has gradually disappeared from the savings account over the years, gone to diapers, baby food, new tires for Myra's minivan, boots, and all the small household expenses that a young couple encounters every month. No, Mom, now we live practically from paycheck to paycheck. Father slowly stood up, leaning on the table. Well, now that you won't buy beer anymore, you'll have a little extra money. Shane, I said enough is enough. Mom hugged me, patting me on the back. You have to take care of yourself, Jimmy. Myra and the boys need you. We love you, son. Thank you, Mom. Listen, my father leaned towards me, putting his hand on my shoulder. Do the right thing. Finally turn your head on, okay? Don't be like my brother. He squeezed my shoulder, conveying his words through the force of the handshake, and then slapped me on the back as he walked away. Do right by your wife and children. They are the best part of you, Jimmy. I watched them leave the door until I was again left alone with my thoughts and in the silence of an empty house. Every time I entered the kitchen, I was overcome with a feeling of shame, and I quickly left without even having dinner because it was unpleasant for me to be there. By 8 p.m., I was exhausted. I was tired, so tired that I could feel it in my bones. The heaviness spread from my feet to my calves. I turned on the TV twice, and both times I turned it off after a few minutes. "What's the matter, Jimmy?" I asked myself, leaning back on the side of the sofa and throwing my legs over the opposite edge. What's going on in my head? Why am I so scared? I'm not one of those who are afraid, but here I am sitting alone in the house, and I feel my stomach shrinking and something itching in my throat. I think that's what scared me the most. This itch. The damn itch that tickled the end of my tongue. This prickly, cottony, unpleasant itch. And I knew it too well because I suppressed it every day for a long time. Damn it. I got up from the couch and opened the garage door, just to see if Tim had gotten the cases of Bud Light. He took it. "Okay," I said indifferently. "It's good that they are no longer there." I turned off the light in the garage and returned to the living room. Next to the closet in the hallway, there was a small cabinet in which we usually kept a couple of bottles of wine and sometimes something stronger. I wonder if Tim took that too. I had no intention of drinking anything. I was just curious. So when I opened the door and saw only a half-empty package of blue plastic Solo cups, I felt strangely relieved and happily slammed the door shut. "Good idea, Tim. Clean up all this crap." By 10:30 in the evening, I was on edge. I took as hot a shower as the water heater would allow and then had to cool down because I felt like I was dying of a fever. So I directed a stream of cold water directly onto my chest, face, and lower abdomen. I simply could not find a place for myself. My body could not calm down. More irritated than worried, I turned off the water, rubbed myself with a towel, and, naked, walked into the bedroom, where I collapsed on the bed, staring at the ceiling. He reached for Myra's pillow, pressed it to her face, inhaling the faint scent of her hair. "Damn, Myra. I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry, honey." I hugged her pillow tightly, its softness touching my nose and mouth, and my heart beat fast and uneven. Completely disappointed with the entire day, I rolled over on my side and closed my eyes, finally allowing myself to fall asleep. When I woke up the next day, I had no idea what time it was. Bright sunlight streamed through the window, and I had to fumble for the alarm clock behind the nightstand. 11:53. Damn it, I slept half the day. I stood up, expecting to feel refreshed after sleeping for so long, but instead it was the opposite. I felt so tired, as if my body was filled with heaviness. I went to the toilet, then went to the kitchen to look for something to eat, and was surprised to find food in the refrigerator that I did not expect there. "Wow, thanks, Mom," I muttered, pulling out a package of bacon. "How long has it been since we've had bacon, Jimmy?" Gradually, the aroma of frying bacon began to slowly fill the kitchen, spreading throughout the house. At the same time, the bread in the toaster acquired an appetizing golden hue, and a warm, toasted aroma complemented the overall symphony of smells. I quickly chopped up a juicy tomato, pulled out some fresh lettuce, and added a little mayonnaise for the perfect bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, which I cooked in brand new, immaculately clean utensils. Raising it to my lips and taking the first greedy bite, I couldn't hold back a satisfied sigh. Damn it, it's been a long time since I've eaten anything so tasty and well-deserved after all the trouble I've been through. After eating every last crumb of the sandwich, I carefully washed the dishes and wiped down the countertops, making sure that the shine left no trace of the morning's cooking. I then moved on to the other rooms, clearing away any remaining clutter and making things clean and tidy. I didn't want Myra to come back and cross the threshold to see chaos and disorder here. I wanted her to be able to return to a calm and comfortable home. Let's just say laundry wasn't my forte. I carefully folded the boys' clothes, as well as my and Myra's things, although it was clear to me that my folds were not as neat and clear as hers. Everything looked a little crooked, but the clothes were clean, neatly folded in half and put into drawers. This definitely had to count. Having finished this, I went outside where the lawnmower was waiting for me. After fiddling with it a bit, I finally got it to start. The engine came to life with a loud snort and groan. I started working on the grass, slowly moving in stripes across the front yard, and then moved to the back. The mower crushed not only the grass, but also old, faded weeds and piles of dry leaves, which in some places gathered into dense piles. If there were too many leaves in the way, I would run the mower back and forth a couple of times until only small, brownish-orange pieces remained. I hoped that the wind would pick them up overnight, scattering them around, and perhaps in the morning the yard would look a little tidier. Around 3, I jumped into my baby and drove to the nearest store to buy myself a soda. The guy behind the counter, who looked like an Arab, didn't even look up, so engrossed in some football match on the tiny 9-inch TV next to the cash register. I poured myself a glass of ice and a Pepsi, headed to the register, and then stopped in front of the Coors display. Cool silver cans with a recognizable logo beckoned. Hidden inside was an amber liquid straight from the Rockies in 12 different cans. Sure, they're almost room temperature now, but after just an hour in the refrigerator, they'll be just right. I took one of the 12 packs and looked at my hand as if it had betrayed me. Jimmy, what the hell are you doing? Are you serious? What about Myra and the boys? Damn, I had a rough weekend. I deserve a couple of beers. You had a rough weekend because you were drinking too much. Hey, I'm sweating here after working outside. It's just beer. I felt beads of sweat slowly running down my forehead. If you're hot and thirsty, take a soda. Drink it, you damn addict. I don't have an addiction. Is it true? Prove it, motherfucker. Move away. My hand remained on the handle of the cardboard package. Jimmy, go. 2. The heck? Okay, I exclaimed, jerking my hand away as if I had been burned, and turned sharply to the cash register. Judging by the faces of the people in the store, it was obvious that I said it out loud and quite loudly. Sorry, I muttered, taking 2 crumpled-up dollars from my wallet and handing them to the cashier. Hard day. The guy nodded, handing me back my change, probably hoping I'd just walk out of his store and shut up. Well, I did what he wanted and climbed back into my car to drive home. At home, I went outside again to jump rope for a bit and got to 215 times before stopping, letting the rope hang at my feet. Then I did some push-ups to keep my mind sharp and my body in shape. Damn, I really want a drink. I fell to the ground, face down on the dry grass, toes splayed, elbows out to the sides. I never realized how much I wanted to drink until I started consciously avoiding it. It was much more difficult than I ever expected, and I felt terrible, afraid that I wouldn't be able to hold on. I stood up, unsteadily, and walked into the house, where I sat on the couch and stared out the front door, my thoughts fragmented and incomplete. I sat there until I heard the muffled sounds of car doors slamming and my sons screaming. My sons. I jumped off the couch just as the front door swung open and John and Joel rushed into the house. Dad, Dad, we missed you. They rushed towards me like stabs in the heart, and at that moment I suddenly realized that this is who I need to stop for. They are my reason to stay away from alcohol. The 2 boys I loved more than anything in the world hugged me with joy and laughter, excited about our long-awaited meeting. The yard looks good, Myra said, standing at the threshold with a bag in her hand and looking slightly confused. My wife, looking like something was wrong, as if I was a stranger to her, someone to be afraid of. Myra, who was out of her element, returned home to me. This will not happen. I stood up, picking up both sons, one in each arm, and walked towards the love of my life. We lowered the boys to the floor and all hugged each other, bursting into tears. Oh, honey, I missed you. I missed you and the boys so much. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, please. Just don't leave. Jimmy, James, we missed you too. I love you, Myra said, her eyes shining with tears. We love you, Dad. We love you, Mom, the children shouted. We stood in the doorway, just hugging and happy to be together again, healing the wounds in our hearts and family after this difficult weekend spent apart. When she looked at me with traces of tears on her cheeks, I wanted to hit whoever made her cry, and I knew that someone was me. She trembled, clinging to me, until our tears turned into laughter, and our laughter into quiet, joyful jokes. Finally, we were tired of these emotions, but I was, in a sense, full of energy. "Hey, honey, boys, let me drop off your bags, and I want to hear everything about your weekend at Stephanie's. Don't miss anything, okay?" "You will hear everything, Dad." "I'll watch TV for now," said John. "I'll go with John, too," Joel added. When they turned on the TV, I looked at Myra with a piercing gaze and leaned towards her. "I just want to say I love you, Myra Scully." I leaned over slightly and kissed her forehead. She looked at me with searching eyes. "James, have you had anything to drink today? You're acting strange. Very affectionate, and I like it, but you're somehow not like that." I looked back at the boys and saw that they were passionate about their show. I took Myra's hand and we went out to her car where I could talk without disturbing our sons. "No, Myra, the last time I drank was right after you and the boys left on Friday night." "Is it true?" She took the bag with the dirty clothes, and I took the rest and headed towards the house. "Yes, I didn't feel well when you left, Myra. I don't want to go into detail, but it wasn't my proudest moment. The next day, Mom and Dad, Tim, Scott, Brian, and Jerry came over to help me get my life back in order. There's not a drop of alcohol in the house, not a box of beer or a glass of liquor in the garage." "Impressive, James. Really impressive." She clung to me, hugging my side, as we entered the house again. "I noticed that the cabinets are not exactly the same anymore, but," she raised her hand to stop me, "they look great, and I have to admit that they hang better than the old ones." "Thank you. This is not only my merit, they helped me." "I'm glad, James. You need this, and I don't know how I can help you." I squeezed her hand in mine. "You don't need to help me, honey. This is something I have to do myself. For myself, for you, and for the boys. I know it, and damn it, I'll try my best." We hugged, and I felt my body enveloping her, my hands reaching out to her, as if trying to make her a part of me. My shirt became damp as she cried silently, clinging to me, and I held her, hugging her tightly as only a husband can do, until it passed. The rest of the evening was the complete opposite of what my life had been like for the past 2 days. John and Joel told me about everything they did with Grandma Stephanie, where they went, what they ate, and how much fun they had, even though they missed me. We played catch a fish at the table and ate fresh cookies that Myra found in the cupboards. I mentally thanked her for not saying anything about the replaced dishes, although I could see that she was a little worried about it. Then it was time for bath time and fussing until the announcement came that it was time for bed and John was going back to kindergarten tomorrow. I took my time putting them to bed and read an extra story with silly voices before turning off the lights and saying goodnight. Myra was in the bedroom, already in her nightgown, sitting in bed and waiting for me. "Hi, Daddy." I smiled. "Hi, Mommy." "What a weekend, huh, James?" I climbed into bed next to her, resting my head on the pillow. "You can't even imagine." She also lay down, turning to me. "I present, James. I experienced this too, just on the other side." "Maybe. Sorry, honey." "James, stop apologizing, okay? I know you're sorry. I know. We both know it. Everything is fine. There's no need to constantly apologize. I want everything to be better. You deserve better. I have you, and that's enough for me. I love this new look of yours, James. You have become honest, sincere. I like it, and I think that together we can make our lives a little better every day. I'll make you proud of me, honey. You will see." I hugged her tighter and kissed the top of her head. We just lay there, barely touching each other, in silence and tenderness. This was not a time for passion or proof, just a time to love each other and nothing else. And so we fell asleep together and overwhelmed only by mutual adoration. The next week, I went to work with the enthusiasm of a football defender, throwing myself into it with all my might. Every morning, I woke up feeling good about myself and my life. My sons became my main priority, my wife became my inspiration, and caring for my family became the meaning of my life. On Wednesday, Tim called me, offering to go play pool, but I refused, saying that I would spend the evening with Myra and the boys. He laughed and called me a brat, but I gave him credit for showing up at our house a little later, around 7:30, with half a dozen small pumpkins for John and Joel to carve. He stayed with us until the boys went to bed, and even Myra thanked him for coming. She hugged him and kissed him on the cheek for his concern. I noticed how he looked after her as she went into the bedroom, and I immediately hit him on the shoulder. "Careful, Timmy. This is mine." "Relax, Jimmy. Just looking. I'm not going to order anything. This is not my restaurant," he chuckled. I imitated his laugh, ending with a sarcastic, "Ha ha, very funny, bastard. Control yourself." We went outside, and he lit a cigarette, offering me a cigarette. We smoked together, looking up at the night sky as the cool October breeze blew over us. He dug into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small bottle of Jack Daniels. "Hey, do you mind if I do?" I smiled, feeling confident. "Yes, please, buddy." He chuckled and took a sip, screwing the cap back on. "How are you doing, Jimmy? Honestly?" "Fine. Myra and I are getting along better every day. The boys are growing up healthy, and I am more focused and collected than ever." "Glad to hear it, Jimmy. When we came to you, you were in a disgusting state. I don't like to think of Jimmy Scully as anything other than a brick wall. Durable, reliable, unbending. It's you, dude." I nodded. "That's right, buddy. Don't worry. Everyone stumbles and falls. But the winners rise, while the losers remain on the ground and just complain." He finished smoking and put out the cigarette butt. "I guess I'll go, Jimmy. It was nice. Thank you for allowing me to take time away from family time." "Hey, that's what friends are for." He looked at his watch and smiled. "I moved. I have a meeting here." I winked, making expressive movements with my eyebrows. "With someone who has breasts?" He chuckled. "No." "Ugh. Jerk. No, I work part-time as a driver." I raised an eyebrow. "You, first of all, work. This is fucking funny. Secondly, driving. Dude, you drive like an ass." "Maybe, but I get $300 in cash, and all I have to do is move a duffel bag to Quarrel and drop another one back at Roosevelt Field." "What the hell? Timmy, are you involved in illegal substances or something?" He laughed. "I have no idea. I don't look in bags. My friend once asked me to take him. When we got to Roosevelt Field, some skinny dude in a Camaro berated my friend for being a jerk and threw me money. Since then, I've been working part-time once a week carrying bags." "Tim, you're an idiot. Don't get caught." "No, everything is fine." He extended his hand and we shook it, clapping each other on the back in a manly gesture of affection before he stepped off the porch and waved goodbye. Over the weekend, I invited Jerry, his wife Grace, and their daughter Brittany to our home. Myra and Grace had a great time chatting while John and Joel played with baby Zevers. I also had my own plan. I agreed with Jerry so that we would tinker with the damned water heater all day. We discovered that the water heater had two heating coils, and we were able to fix one and get the other to work somehow. We set the temperature to 140 degrees and checked it several times throughout the day. And finally, hot water returned to the house. Myra sang my praises, and Jerry praised my ability to time the tandem head and hold the light a little higher. We laughed, and I grilled hot dogs while our wives made salad for everyone. It felt a little strange to go without beer, and I knew I got a little distracted at one point, but I ended up making it through the day without temptation, and we considered it a success. Everything at work was business as usual, but I thought Doug noticed that I had become less careless and more collected, since he had not scolded me once in recent weeks. The weather got colder and orders dwindled as the construction season ended and most contractors turned to domestic projects. In the second week of November, I allowed myself to drink beer for the first time. It was a cold Tuesday, The temperature barely reached 4 degrees, and it was raining. Not a torrential downpour, but a constant, drizzling rain that will leave you wet no matter what you do. We received a shipment of drywall, and the truck driver had to back up to the warehouse gate to ensure the unloading remained dry once we removed the tarp. We only had about 2 dozen sheets left, and there was no way Doug would allow this load to be returned and delivered tomorrow, so I had to take it upon myself. This meant that every time I wanted to remove a stack of drywall from the truck, I had to wait for the driver to fold back the tarp so I could properly position the forks of the forklift and lift the load. Because of this, the work took 3 times longer than usual, so I was constantly out in the rain longer than usual. Then I needed to quickly move the drywall into the room so that the top sheets did not have time to get wet. And at the same time I had to work, maneuvering between the cars of contractors and the owner of the house, which drove in and out through the gate. My patience was quickly exhausted, and I began to shiver from the cold, staying in one place for a long time, waiting for movement. Unloading the drywall took over 2 hours, leaving me in a bind for the rest of the day's work. So by the time the last load of lumber was secured the next day and the forklift was parked, we had already closed almost an hour later than usual, and it was already after 5 in the evening. I was terribly wet and took a dry shirt from the sales office to change into as I felt like a wet sponge. Freddie Tulips, one of the guys at the register, was hanging out nearby and suggested that everyone go to Hooters to relax and to stress a little after such a disgusting day. I was going to decline, telling Freddie that money was tight right now and I couldn't afford to spend money on beer, wings, and cleavage, but he shrugged and offered to pay the bill. "I have to admit, Jimmy," he said with a smile, "you've been working hard here, and today everyone noticed how much effort you put into not saying screw it and going away to get warm." The other guys at the checkout and the salespeople supported him, and many of them decided to join. So I called Myra, a little upset that I got on voicemail, but still left a message. "Honey, we've had a terrible day today, so the boys and I are going to relax for an hour or two. I'll be home until 8. Love you, darling." The whole group of us went to the nearest Hooters, where we managed to get a table in the corner and didn't have to wait long. The game was broadcast on nearby screens, and we asked the waitress, Candy, as if that was her real name, to bring us a couple of wings and 2 pitchers of beer. As we relaxed, I could feel my pants drying uncomfortably on me. I mechanically took a mug from the table and filled it from a nearby jug. "What are you doing, Jimmy?" "I'm just drinking beer. I had a really terrible day." "What about this last month? You held on all this time." "Yes, so I'm sure 1 beer won't be a problem. This will show that I can control myself." "1 beer? Only 1 thing. This is fine." I took a sip. I kept my word. Despite eating perhaps too many wings, I only drank 1 beer. After saying goodbye to my colleagues, I got into my Charger and headed home to my wife and children. "Hey, hey, Dad's home," I shouted, throwing open the door and standing on the threshold with outstretched arms. "Hello, Dad." John ran up to me and hugged me tightly around the neck. "We heard your voice on the answering machine." "Is it true? I didn't hear you." Joel grabbed my right leg, sat on my foot, and grabbed my calf and thigh. I threw him forward, taking a step into the house, and his ringing laughter almost deafened me. "Where is Mom?" "She's in the bathroom," John answered. "Ooh, looks like this is an important and personal matter." From behind the closed bathroom door, Myra's good-natured voice was heard. "Exactly, so stop talking about my personal time, boys." We all went to the bathroom door and took turns knocking on it, each time asking, "Are you there?" Regardless of her answer, we continued until everyone burst into laughter, and eventually Myra swung the door open, grinning wildly. The boys screamed in mock horror and ran away, and I ran in the other direction, but Myra grabbed me by the shirt and didn't let me run away. "Yes, yes," she shouted joyfully, pressing her hands to my shoulders and pushing me back. "I'm in the bathroom." I let her push me onto the couch, where she sat on my lap with her arms around my neck. "We missed you, James Scully." I leaned down to kiss her and felt her struggling to contain her smile. When we pulled away and the boys tried to pull me down to the floor to play with the cars, I noticed a change in her gaze. Her eyes became thoughtful. "Hey, dear, did you happen to have a beer today?" she asked. John and Joel pulled me onto the floor to play with cars. "Yes, dear, but just one thing." "Are you sure this was a good idea?" "Certainly. There was only one thing. Everything is under control, don't worry." I gave her a smile, trying to reassure her with my gaze. "Well, if you say so." She seemed to accept my answer, but something in her face and posture said that she was not entirely sure. And I was sure. I lasted a month without a single drop, and when I was tempted, I only drank one. Everything is fine. On Friday, while rushing home after work so Myra could make it to her shift, I suddenly remembered that we were out of macaroni and cheese, and I promised the boys to make my signature version. So I drove to the nearest store and bought 2 boxes of a cheap copy of Kraft. As I stood at the register, waiting for the old lady in front of me to select the last lottery tickets, I looked around and noticed that the store was having a sale on Budweiser. 6 cans for $3.25. "This is a great price," I muttered under my breath. After all, I had just received my salary, so my pockets were full of money. I'm not going to drink them right away, but it's okay to have 6 cans at home in case I have a bad day again. I took the package and paid for it along with the pasta, confident that this would not be a problem. Not a problem at all. At home, I kissed Myra goodbye and she ran off to work, promising that she would be in shape for me when she returned. The boys asked what I meant and I laughed because they imagined being in shape meant being awake and ready to party with me all night, not understanding the double meaning. I made dinner by adding some chopped tomatoes to the pasta, a quarter-pound of ground beef, and a sprinkling of breadcrumbs on top to keep everything together. We ate with great appetite, and I even stopped them from finishing everything, so that there would be some left for Myra when she returned. After dinner, the boys wanted to watch a movie, so I pulled Monsters, Inc. out of the closet and let them relax on the couch while Mike and Sully went on their adventures at the factory. I sat relaxing next to my sons and decided I was well enough to have a beer. I opened the jar. When the movie was over, I asked the boys to put on their pajamas and gave them another half hour to play in their room for a bit, which allowed me time to catch up on the week's bills and have a second beer. "Only 2, Jimmy. No more needed." "Is this a problem?" "No, I don't think so. Everything is under control. This is only the second beer. It's okay." "Yes, everything is fine." I put my sons to bed by 9:30, stashing the remaining 4 cans in the back of the refrigerator behind some bread and salad on the bottom shelf. I just put them out of sight. There is no need for them to occupy the top shelf. Again, everything is under control. I washed my face, brushed my teeth, rinsed my mouth, made my bed, and stripped down to just my underpants, waiting for Myra to come home. I didn't have to wait long. I heard her park and enter the house. "Hello, dear," she called with a tired voice. "Hello, honey. How was your day?" "Long, very long." She took off her shoes and plopped down at the kitchen table. "Oh, Jimmy's mac and cheese. Someone loves me." I moved the container closer to her and handed her the fork. "Eat, honey. Just relax." I stood behind her and slowly ran my large hands through her hair, gently massaging her scalp. "Oh God," she muttered, trembling with pleasure, her hands trembling with fatigue as she tried to eat, and I rubbed the tension on her head. "Keep going, Mr. Scully, and you will have one very happy wife." "That sounds good." I continued a little longer and then picked her up and carried her to bed, where I laid her on the pillow and helped her get comfortable. We made love. The next day I woke up in a great mood and got up before everyone else. This morning I peed and then went to the kitchen to see what I wanted for breakfast. While digging around, I remembered Budweiser's, took out a can, opened it, and drank it. "Good morning, dear," Myra greeted me, dressed in a sleep shirt, her hair disheveled on the pillow. She looked at the trash and frowned. "James, did you just finish your beer?" I smiled. Yes, baby, only one thing. Where did the beer come from? I thought we got rid of all this. Yes, I bought a six-pack yesterday. It was on sale. She looked nervous. James, do you think having beer at home is a good idea? Certainly. Again, I only drank one. It's not a problem. Really, don't make it bigger than it really is. She nodded her head, but I could tell she wasn't convinced. Okay, James, but if I think it's becoming a problem, you won't bother me with getting rid of it, will you? No problem, Myra. You don't have to worry because it won't be a problem. Scout's honor. Days passed one after another, all November. Each day was a little shorter and colder than the previous one. John and Joel were enjoying the upcoming winter, while Myra prepared Thanksgiving dinner with her mom and my parents. I didn't even notice that I was drinking a couple of beers a day. It seemed ordinary, nothing special. So when I moved on to 3 and then 4, it didn't bother me at all. I saw that Myra was starting to worry and tried to ask me to stop, but each time I reassured her that this was not at all what I was before and not to worry, I had it under control. When I went to play pool with Timmy the week before Thanksgiving, it seemed natural that we would play for shots, which is what we had done before. So when I beat him 3 games to 2, I didn't feel any pain. I realized that maybe I shouldn't have had that last whiskey, so I switched to soda to sober up a bit. Because I didn't want to risk driving drunk, we didn't leave the pool hall until 11, which meant that after taking Tim home, I didn't get home until almost 12. It was slow and insidious, but it sneaked up on me even when I was looking for it. As Thanksgiving got even closer, just 2 days away, Myra was almost constantly angry with me, and everything I did was already wrong. Give me a damn break, I'm doing the best I can. Plus, I was tired all the time. I gave up jumping rope because I couldn't do 30 jumps without getting out of breath and tripping over the damn cord. And Doug acted tough for no reason. Honestly, everything was going to hell, and I had no idea why everyone was throwing their crap at me. James, I need to talk to you, is how it all started after I put John and Joel to bed. Damn, Myra. So what now? It's late, and I have a damn job in the morning. Tomorrow is the last day before the holidays, and Doug is just annoying me. James, this is getting out of hand again. I frowned. Going to do this shit again? Come on, baby. I told you I have this. It's not a problem, so don't make it a problem. James, you seem to be drinking all the time. And you promised that you wouldn't do this. She clasped her hands together, clutching the kitchen towel like a life preserver. I want you to stop. Great, I threw my hands up. I'll stop. Are you happy? No, I'm serious. Me too. What the hell do you want? James, please. It's vacation now. I know it's the holidays. Damn, it's like I don't know. Didn't I go to the store today and buy cranberry sauce and gravy and a bunch of other crap you asked about? I was getting upset, and it bothered me that I was getting upset. James, please calm down. Wow. She said the same thing I was thinking. I'm calm. Yes, Myra. You're making me sad. Let's agree I won't drink and you won't nag me, okay? Tears streamed down her face as she turned away and whispered, I can't. You can't? What can't you do? Don't pick on me? Is this something you can't do? She didn't say anything, went into the bedroom and closed the door. I sat in the kitchen, frowning and feeling like crap. Fine. I looked at my nails, absent-mindedly chewing on my pinky finger. Do you like making your wife cry? Tough guy, asshole, macho, jerk, makes a woman cry. You make me sick, James. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. With disgust, I walked over to the sofa and lay down on it, falling asleep to the quiet sounds of the house settling in. The next morning, I woke up to Myra shaking my shoulder, and my brain couldn't figure out why I was looking at the TV room and wondering why I was on the couch. James, wake up, you overslept. HM? I rolled off the couch to the sound of hundreds of screaming muscles, my back shaking wildly as I straightened up and pulled it back into place. What the hell? I hobbled towards the TV until I could read the time on the clock. 6:38. Damn crap, I roared. I'm going to be damn late. I flew past Myra and ran into the bedroom, throwing my boxers in the hamper and quickly getting dressed. I pulled on my boots one at a time, quickly lacing them up as I pulled on my sweatshirt. I ran down the hall to the bathroom. I heard Myra banging on something in the kitchen and the refrigerator door slamming. Nothing complicated, Myra. It's time for me to go. I squirted the toothpaste directly into my mouth and began scrubbing my face with a dry toothbrush in brutal, rapid piston motions. Toast, James. That's it, buttered toast. Can you have coffee at work? I spat in the sink and shouted back, when the cockroach trainer comes, I'll do it. I rinsed my mouth and then splashed water on my face, rubbing it in. My hair looked like I slept on the damn couch. I heated the water and put my head under the tap, rubbing it until I was wet. Then I dried it with a quick swipe of the towel and combed it back with half a dozen sharp tugs of the hairbrush. Good enough. I ran to the kitchen just in time to put on my jacket, take 2 pieces of buttered toast from Myra's hands, and give my wife a single, searing kiss. I'm an asshole, baby. Sorry about last night. She shook her head and waved her hand towards the door. Don't worry. Just take care of yourself today. Run, it's 6:47. Go, drive carefully. I love you. I love you too. I ran to the baby, almost swallowing my first piece of toast hole. I started it up, pulled out of the driveway, and started the engine, the tires screeching as I raced away from the house and towards work. Come on, baby, I told my Charger as we pulled onto the main road, flooring the gas pedal and making the 8-cylinder engine growl in response. The wide tread tires slammed into the pavement, keeping the more than 5,000-pound vehicle stable as we sped toward Huntington and the Florence Sup building. The minutes on the dashboard counted down one by one until 7 o'clock came and went, and I cursed every traffic light and slow-moving bastard I was stuck behind. Finally, I saw a building painted green, and at 7:08, I pulled the steering wheel sharply into the parking lot, stopping with a squeal of brakes. I jumped out of the car and ran to the front door, alarmed to see that both drivers were already in the yard and starting their still empty trucks. Doug, sorry I'm late. I overslept, I suggested as I walked up to the counter and quickly logged in. Damn it, Jimmy, he replied, holding the clipboard in one hand and the folded plan in the other. You're fucking late. You look like crap, and you're telling me you overslept? Load up the damn trucks and get them out the door, and then haul your ass to my office. Understood? Yes, Doug. I'm in such trouble. Come on, Doug. I'm here every day, cold, rain, heat, whatever, doing my job. No fucking respect for what I do or how hard I work. I loaded both trucks within 10 minutes, and they were out the gate by 7:25. Not my best result. I turned away from Yale and went back inside, where Doug made me join him in the office and close the door. He then spent the next 15 minutes tearing me up on one side and down on the other. He picked on my ability to work, my unkempt appearance, my attendance, my attitude, even suggesting that I had a couple of beers from time to time. Listen to me, Jimmy, and listen carefully. At that moment, he calmed down, no longer ranting or raving. I give you until the end of the year, or you get out of here. Do you understand me? December 31st. Understood. I nodded, miserable. Yes, Doug. I understand. He shook his head. At break, I want you to go to 7-Eleven and buy a razor, come back here and shave, and I want you to wear a cap today. Jesus, Jimmy, I'm not your mom. I don't need to tell you how to take care of yourself. You should be representing Florence Building Supply, not, I don't give a fuck. Sorry, Doug. I'll take care of it. Watch what you're doing. Now get out of here and do your job. I walked out, noticing that most of the staff and customers were turning away significantly. Damn, now everyone has heard how he criticized me. Thanks, Doug, you're an asshole. I drove out into the yard and took care of the backlog of work, gurgling loudly and often when no one was around. By the time the trainer appeared, I was dragging myself. I had no strength, Fatigue finally crept up and took hold of me. "Hey, Scott," I greeted the driver, filling a large styrofoam cup with coffee from his urn and adding some sugar to it. "Any covers?" "No, sorry, Jimmy." I handed him $3 and tiredly climbed back onto my forklift. The lack of lids meant that I had to hold the coffee while I worked, which meant that I worked slower than I wanted. And of course, during this time, Doug stood at the large window looking out over the yard and saw me with one hand. I drive the elevator in low gear along the broken sidewalk, drinking coffee. He just shook his head and returned to his office. I took one last sip and then crushed half the cup with my glove and tossed it into the trash bin I kept behind my seat. Not a damn break all day. At 11:30 I was feeling nervous, unhappy, angry, upset, and just plain offended. My arms were itching, and it felt like a bag of needles was rattling over my head. I ran out to lunch, drove to 7-Eleven, and bought 3 packs of disposable cheap Bic razors and a small jar of overpriced shaving cream. I then walked to the back of the store near the refrigerator display and pulled out a 12-pack of Coors. Damn right, I deserve it, I thought as I paid for my purchases. The poor idiot isn't giving me a break today. I drank one in the parking lot and already felt much better by the time I was done. I drove back to the yard where I drank a second after I parked the Charger, my anger fading as the drink cooled me down. Taking the remaining purchases, I went to the bathroom, washed my face, and shaved as best I could with cheap blades. My face was as smooth as it could be. I grabbed my supplies and walked out of the bathroom, heading for the exit, making it a point to slow down near Doug's office so he could see me. He looked up as I stopped at his door, his eyes meeting mine. "Better." I said nothing, seething inside, walked to the car and threw my bag on the passenger seat. Seeing the Coors sitting on the floor, I took out the third one and hid it in my jacket pocket. "Damn, I need this today," I muttered as I walked back out into the yard and got back to work. The day didn't get any better, but it didn't get any worse either. I managed to drink a beer while I rolled around the back of the yard near the shingles. It made me feel good, like I personally got something from Doug for being so merciless with me today. At 4, Doug ordered everyone to come forward and made a big show of handing out salaries today, as if in 2 days we would receive a prize instead of our normal salary. It's like he was going to open this place on Black Friday to give out checks. I resisted the urge to tell him to fuck off, instead thanking him for the check and tucking it into my coat pocket. He looked at me strangely, narrowing his eyes and sniffing the air as if he smelled something. Damn, the moron smells beer. No problem, I just won't breathe out. Ha, a hell of a lot smarter than you, moron. Once safe, I exhaled and congratulated myself for being so damn smart. I went to the bathroom and washed my face before driving home, not liking the crease that had formed between my eyebrows and the way my neck muscles were tense. I left work as usual. No one noticed me. It was like I was fucking invisible. I opened my car door, grabbed a box of Coors from the floor of the front seat, and placed it on the floor of the back seat, but not before drinking one more before driving home. I had to move a large box behind my seat to make room, its contents clanking as it was moved. It was filled with all sorts of things that I had salvaged while driving the forklift here. Items that contractors threw in the dumpster, miscellaneous things I found laying around the yard. Most of them were lengths of rebar, those 2-foot ribbed metal posts used in concrete bases and forms. Each of them weighed about 3 pounds, and over time I had to gain about 20. There were also a couple of rusty hammers, a plumber's wrench, a pair of tape measures that for one reason or another didn't work, a 5-pound canvas bag filled with galvanized roofing nails, at least 30 bent carriage bolts, and a 7-piece set of cheap forged metric wrenches with broken socket head. All the good stuff I found was in my garage. These were the remains of things that I had collected, but had not yet had time to fix, clean, or throw away. My Charger started up, the engine sounding as angry as I did, and I drove slowly home. The trip did not calm me down, but only agitated me as I relived all the little lights I had to endure at work today. I grew angrier and angrier, my guts spinning as I headed south. When I finally pulled into the driveway, I was ready to chew my nails. Thank God I had the next 4 days free, otherwise I would have been completely lost at work. Now all I wanted to do was go inside, take off my shoes, and relax. "Hello, dear. How was your day?" Myra was in the kitchen. A jumble of condiments, spice jars, stands, and pans lay on the counters and stoves. "This fucking sucks, Myra." "Fine." "Damn, I'm so sorry you had a bad day, James. Is Doug angry that you're late?" "Wicked? Ha, that doesn't even begin to show what a pathetic jerk he was to me. This is nonsense, let me tell you. Damn nonsense." I placed the rest of the box in the refrigerator, pushing a few wrapped bowls aside to make room. I took out one beer, opened the cap, threw it back, and took a sip. "Something has to change, baby. I can't keep putting up with his shitty attitude." Myra looked at me with her mouth open, her hand half raised and looking at me for a long time. "What?" I asked, immediately angry with her. "What the hell? What happened?" I looked around. "Where are John and Joel?" "They're playing with the Miller kids again." She shook her head. "What the hell are you doing?" "What?" I raised my beer. "This? Nothing. I had a shitty day. I told you so." "James, enough. Give me the beer." She extended her hand to me. "What? Are you crazy? I won't give you my beer. I had the worst day today, and I want you to know that it's your damn fault." "My fault?" She almost screamed in response. "What is my fault?" "Last night you had a fight with me, and I slept on the couch. This means I didn't set the alarm, which means I'm late for work today, which means that's what got Doug riding my damn ass all day." At that moment my voice rose, a snake-like tendril of anger coming to life in my chest. "So if you don't like me trying to relax in my damn house with a damn beer, then you should think about what you did to me yesterday and try not to do it to me today. Don't blame it on me, James Skelly. You are more than a big part of this problem, and you need to man up and take some responsibility. Don't patronize me, Myra." "James, give me the damn beer. You've had enough." I held it over my head like a child, making it impossible for her to take it away. Seeing that I had no intention of letting her take it, she frowned and instead opened the refrigerator door, pulling the remains of my suitcase off the shelf by the edge of the cardboard box. "Hello," I screamed. "Put that damn thing back." She backed away and headed towards the sink, and I walked forward. "James, enough. Stop drinking more." "Go away, James. I can't live like this anymore," Myra shouted with despair in her voice, her words reflecting the accumulated pain. In our confusion in the kitchen, I accidentally stepped on one of the cans, causing beer foam to flow across the floor. "Myra, calm down. Let's talk." I tried to persuade her, but the tension grew. We continued to move around the kitchen, bumping into furniture and finding no way to stop. Suddenly, I heard someone open the front door, and a loud voice said, "Police, everyone stay put." Two officers entered the room, one of them with his hand on his waist, ready to intervene. "Please leave," I shouted. The next second, I felt something powerful pierce my body, and I fell to the floor, disoriented and deprived of strength. Through the sounds of growing panic, I could barely hear Myra and the children crying and the neighbors trying to console her. The police lifted me up carefully and read my rights, but I was too shocked to respond. To be continued. Subscribe to the channel and click on the bell so you don't miss the next part of this story. She will be there very soon. The link to the sequel will be in the description of this video below. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next